Hey everybody, Sean O'Connor here from Paper Cuts from Macabre Daily, and I have none other than Allison Rushby here with me, the author of Slashed Beauties. Allison, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I cannot wait to dive into this book. Are you ready?
I am so excited to be here to talk everything slash beauties.
You kind of hit on something that I am madly in love with, which is Victorian England. We'll get to it though. Well, I don't want to get ahead of myself. We'll definitely get to it. But first, what I like to do with all of my interviews is, if you don't mind, would you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself for anyone who doesn't know you?
Yeah. So I am an Australian author. I've been an author for a long time. This is year 25 for me and book 33, actually.
You
So I've been
slacker.
writing for a very long time. I know. Yeah. Some of those books are very short. So I started out in women's fiction and then I wrote children's fiction for a long time. And then I stumbled across the idea for Slash Beauties, which could not have been a book for children. So I had to come back to the world of adult fiction.
Well, we're glad that you did. I mean, honestly, it is unlike I read so much. I mean, my TBR list is like, and look, these are great problems to have, but it's impressively tall, taller than me. And I
Yes.
have to say that Slash Beauties it was almost like you're having a 50-course meal and you get that great sorbet to set everything apart.
Palate cleanser.
I was so appreciative, and I know that, look, this is just me being quirky, but I was so appreciative of where this novel fell in my lineup, because it's not that I was reading the same thing over and over again, but this is so distinctly different, and it's complex, but it's adventurous. There's absolutely horror elements to it, and we'll get into that. But I
Yeah.
have to know immediately, where did the idea come from? Because it's so
Yeah.
unique.
Yeah. The idea really came out of absolutely nowhere. And it was just a so I was in a museum in Vienna and I walked into a room where I saw an actual slashed beauty, an anatomical Venus. And so for people who don't know what they are, it's like a hyper realistic anatomical wax figure of a woman. Um, the thing, and they are dissectable, so they were used for anatomical study. But the weird thing about the slashed beauties is that they are incredibly beautiful. They're like a piece of artwork. So I walked into this room and I saw this, anatomical model in a glass case, and she had this beautiful long golden hair and this sort of dewy waxen skin, and they often have this kind of erotic expression on their face. But the real kicker with the slash beauties is they usually have a row of pearls at their throat. And so I was standing in this room going, what is this? It was obviously for medical purposes, but it was like a piece of art. And I think as a woman, you're not used to seeing that sort of violent collision of science and art in this medical form together. And so I kind of stood back and just watched as other women walked in the room to see what they thought about it. And there was every so often you get this person who was like, what is that? And I knew in that moment that there was something in it. What that was, because that's very interesting, but it's not a story. And so I had to go away and develop the story around that. But of course, I did a deep dive into the anatomical Venus and got books. And, that's the best bit about being a historical novelist, is doing that deep dive.
That
Yeah.
research has got to be so much fun. I'm jealous.
It's so much fun.
I,
It's just stopping the research and writing the novel is the hard bit.
yeah, that's the hard part, right? You're like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I love the origin story of that. And I honestly, if I were watching the same thing that you did, I would have been so fascinated to see how fascinated people were by it. Were they taken back? Were they intrigued? Because I had never heard of Slash Beauties before.
People haven't. I hadn't, and I really haven't met many people along the way who have known what one is. And so in reviews, people have been saying like, "Oh, I had to go and look them up, and I'd never seen one." And it's true. They're just not very well known.
But that's the beauty of it. And I love a novel. I love anything that piques my curiosity. and then I start researching it, and you learn. I mean, that's what good fiction should do. It should really, it should entice you, and it should propel you towards things that are unknown. So I
Yeah. Yeah.
thank you for
I
that.
really love uncovering those little pieces of unknown history. That's what I like writing about the most. Yeah.
There's so much out there too. There's
There's,
so much.
there's so much. It means you've got to go to a lot of museums too, which is really hard.
Look, I don't. I'm so curious. I'm gonna ask you what you think of the United States in a moment, but I will preface this by saying that I think this period in time that we're having, a couple of generations down the road, they'll be looking at this time period and they'll be dissecting it anatomically, so to
Yeah.
speak, and saying, okay, can we find where everything went so sideways and where the house got crazy? If you don't mind, just to do it, to go sideways for one brief moment, what does someone who lives outside the United States think of what's going on in the US right now?
As an Australian, I think a lot of Australians wake up every morning and have a look at the news and go, what happened overnight? Like, what's going on there? It's so hard to say. It's not like we don't have our own issues as well in Australia. Of course, every
Everyone
country.
does. It's true. Every country does, for sure.
Yeah, but for me, I have been looking, it's been quite interesting for me from that Slash Beauties perspective, is some of the reviews coming up, particularly with horror. I've been really interested to see how people have been actually disappointed that there's not more stabbing of men in this book, and they haven't sort of looked at the bodily autonomy aspect of it. And I'm like, that is really interesting to me that you are having a few issues with women's bodily autonomy, that more people haven't gone, oh, this is the moment to talk about women's bodily autonomy.
Yes.
So I've been really interested to see that they're like, there's not enough stabbing of men in this book. But when I went to write the book, I thought there'd be more stabbing of men too. But when I went to write it, I was like, that's not the interesting part here. That is not where the true horror lies for me. The true horror lies in the women's grooming of other women, this stolen bodily autonomy, choice, freedom were the things that I thought were far more interesting from a woman's perspective. So from a particularly horror aspect, I've been interested to see that people wanted a slasher book. I thought it was more interesting to talk about bodily autonomy.
This look, it's kind of an amalgam of the best of all worlds, because if someone is looking for a thrilling story, they've got it. If they're looking for that horror aspect, they've got it. But this goes way deeper than that. The reason I brought up what's going on in the United States, and you beat me to the punch, is that we are having that moment right now where we're trying to really roll back a lot of basic human rights for women that we've had for decades.
Things I thought you had in the 70s are being repealed. And it's really horrifying to watch. That's its own horror story, yeah?
It is. It is. I think, look, one of the silver linings about living through a moment in time like we are right now is that it sparks so much creativity.
Yeah.
Yours included, where there will just be so many great films and novels and music that are created because of this. So it's a real moment in time. But like I said, the silver lining is that it will spark that creativity.
You hope so, unless AI takes it away.
Oh, don't even get me started, Allison. Oh, come on. You look next year, or when you write your next book, we'll do another interview and I'll just be this amorphous voice. I'll be gone. They'll have turned me into Soylent Green by then. Because I'm so horrible at my job and I always get ahead of myself, would you do me a favor? Would you just explain the novel to our viewers and listeners? Give it a brief summation so that they know what Slash Beauties is all about.
Yeah, so Slash Beauties is a dual timeline, so we go back and forth in time. So in 18th century London, we have three women and their lives kind of become magically and murderously intertwined when they meet an anatomist and a witch who have a wicked plan. And then in present-day London, we meet a young antiques dealer and she's got to find a way to break her cursed connection to the trio of women. So that's my spoiler-free
Yeah, there will
synopsis.
be no spoilers to this book. I want people to pick it up and I want them to experience it just like I did. It honestly, it was one of my favorite reads of 2025. I already spoiled it for Alice, and she's going to get a great review from Macabre Daily. But I look, I'm having a moment right now, as are so many readers and film goers with witchcraft.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Was this something that you had that happened organically as you were writing the book? Like, are you a plotter or a pantser, or did you know from the beginning? Okay, I really want to weave the witchcraft into it.
Yeah, I'm a massive, massive plotter.
Okay.
So I need to know where all my plot points are, and I have almost a bit of a skeleton draft before I start the actual writing of my books. I have to know where it's all going. Um, I knew that there would be witchcraft in the book, but I also knew I didn't want it to be a book about witchcraft. Or witches. So I knew I wanted to have those elements, but I actually really wanted it to be Alice's story. And I knew that I wanted her to be a little bit anti-witchcraft because of what had happened to her in her past. So while I knew I wanted to have those elements, I really wanted it also to be about her gaining sort of reclamation, I suppose, reclamation of self rather than witchcraft. I wanted it to be Alice's journey. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, we had talked about the research for the anatomical Venuses. What about the research for the witchcraft?
Well, I have always like a lot of my fiction, even my children's fiction, is a little bit gothic and will sometimes include witchcraft elements. So I have always had that a little bit, on the on the side there anyway. So I already knew quite a few things that I wanted to know that I already wanted to know about. I didn't have to do a massive lot of research. I had the setting that I wanted the witches to be in the New Forest, and so I had quite a lot of those elements there already. So that wasn't where the most of the research, took up the time for me. Yeah.
Okay. The viewers and the listeners are going to say, "Oh, he's at it again," because I say this almost every interview. But I do it for a reason. There was a great moment in horror that I think is being duplicated now, in present day. There was a great moment in horror during the 80s, but it was all very much the same thing. There was great horror produced, but it was white men. There
All
were
right. Yeah.
there not to say that there weren't, but there were much fewer female authors that were getting a chance. I mean, indie publishing was almost non-existent back then, and certainly, I mean, queer horror and indigenous horror almost non-existent. That's different now. Give your thoughts on what this moment in horror, and it has been going on for years now, and I'm cautiously optimistic that it's going to continue because the authors that are generating work in horror and genre in general is unbelievable. Again,
Yeah.
yourself included. Give me your thoughts on this moment because you're part of it.
I think people are just far more open to doing their own thing now. And that's exactly what I wanted to do when I went into this book. When I started writing it, I was actually not sure whether it would even get published. So when I started writing, I shouldn't have been writing it. I was contracted to write a bunch of children's books. I was writing quite down low in the age group, like even like small chapter books. And when the idea came to me, I was like, this is a dumb idea. I shouldn't be writing this, but I had to do it. And so when I started writing it and I was telling people about it, I was like, it's about these wax anatomical models and they come to life at night and murder man. And people were like, okay, crazy lady. And they would take a step back. And I was like, uh-oh, maybe I'm just writing this book for me. But actually, I think that's probably where a lot of that great horror is coming from, is a lot of people are just writing the book they want to write, because things are more open now to, a different sort of reader, and you're more likely to get things published. And you know what? If you don't, you can self-publish it. So there are those more options open to people. And I think maybe people are just writing whatever they want to write. And actually that's the times when my books have actually done the best is when I've just wrote whatever I want to write. So if you're not entertaining yourself, I think you can't entertain someone else.
You
So
you said it, and it's so funny. I spoke with Joe Lansdale. I'm a horrible name dropper, but I spoke with Joe Lansdale months ago, and he said the exact same thing. He said, "You know, I can't concern myself with whether or not the reader is going to like what I'm writing. I write it for myself."
yeah,
And I've talked to so many authors that say the same thing, and sometimes it's almost like they have to like pull themselves out of it because we're just inclined to, oh, what are people going to think and what do they want? And once they lose that and they have that freedom, that's
yeah.
when the great work happens.
And that is the thing too. Like, this is year 25 for me, and I have learned you can't game the market. If you try to start writing something now that hits the trends that are happening now, it'll take you 18 months to write it, and then it takes 18 months, it takes 6 months or something to get it acquired, and then it'll take 18 months before it's out. You've got no hope. You can't game the market.
You're right.
So
You're right.
may as well just go down your own rabbit hole, I say.
And have fun. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. I think I know the answer to this question because you already said that you love to plot and you have a skeleton, but I have to ask you anyway. Was there any moment when you were writing the novel where you had written yourself into a corner or you were just like, where do I go from here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think the problem is always when you're writing a dual narrative is that you have to flick back and forth in time. So often you will get to a point where you're like, oh, this bit's too weighty. I'm going to have to, divvy it up a bit better. Or so I do remember like having to print out all the sections and put them on the floor and put the word counts on them and start moving things around. So there was, that aspect. The other aspect for me was probably because I have an unreliable narrator, you're always second guessing yourself about, have I dropped enough hints? Have I dropped too many hints? Are people going to guess the twist? And I've actually not really had, even my 3 editors across, Australia, the UK, the US, they didn't guess the twist when they were acquiring the book. And I've not really had many readers go, oh, I guessed what the twist was, which is very heartening because you really don't want people to guess the twist.
Isn't that the best feeling? I'm so happy for you. I
certainly. And I think I was very fair, very fair. I dropped enough hints, I think.
And I'm thick as a brick. And I was just barely able to grasp it. But yeah, you kept me there. So you got me. Okay. Yeah. I need to know what the plan is for the launch of the novel and how I can support it. Do you have any tour set up? I know you're in Australia, but we'll happily promote it. We have an international audience.
Yeah, no, it's been really good actually. So yes, I'm in Australia, but actually, touring now is it's great and it's lovely to go out and meet people. Probably more useful, this is the first book. I'll have another one out next year and it's probably going to be more useful after that when people have read, maybe both books. But, I have a number of like online tours lined up and things like that. And, Instagram in particular has been amazing to be able to connect with readers. And, every day I'm getting, like reviewers tagging me and saying really lovely things. So that's been really good, actually. And people have been so nice. Like, I've been so heartened to see how well so many reviewers have understood what I was trying to say, because you never know. Are you just writing into the void? You'd hope not if a number of editors got very excited enough to do a global release. So you're like, hopefully there's something in this, but it's been really heartening to, have people so excited about what I was trying to get at. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna champion this book because it is worth it. I'm going to be one of those Instagram people that are going to tag you. So,
Yay. No, no, it's been really lovely. People have been so kind. Yeah. Yeah.
excellent. Always love to wrap up my interviews. If you don't mind, I love to ask for a recommendation, a novel and a film that you think, we skew horror and genre. It doesn't have to be just something you're passionate about, a film and a book.
Film and a book. I'm very bad at recommending books from the past. I get excited about books in the moment and push the book of the moment. So books that I've just read that I've absolutely loved. I just read Claire Leslie Hall's Broken Country, and I thought that was very masterful because she had a twist that was so fair. When I look back, I didn't get it at all. And it is hard to get a twist past me when, I've been a novelist for such a long
You're
time.
the twist maker. Yeah.
You're picking apart a book as you read it. You really are. It does spoil a lot of things for you. But she had a twist that when I looked back, I was like, oh, that was so fair. Like she just deflected. And I was like, oh, that was very masterful work. And I also I've been trying to read a little bit of romantasy just to see. It's probably not for me. I usually like more historical deep dives than the romantasy. But I read Stacey McEwen's A Forbidden Alchemy, and that was just like a lot of fun. And maybe I like that because Stacey lives about an hour down the road. Okay. So maybe she's got more of an Australian voice or sensibility. So they were really good. And films, I've got to say I haven't been watching too many films lately because I've been watching more historical, either dual narratives that in series form. So we've just been watching The Serpent Queen, which is really good, though it's not a dual narrative, but really good, really enjoying. And I'm loving that from the kind of perspective of somebody cruel, like my villain in Beauties is quite cruel. So I'm loving that aspect of it. And I think before that I watched The Crimson Petal and the White, which was really good too.
Oh, you're right in my wheelhouse. I love it. Allison, you've been an absolute pleasure. The novel is Beauties. By the way, the cover is unbelievably
gorgeous. Yeah.
Look,
it's so pretty. And the UK cover is wildly different.
Different. I love it, and I love the colors. This is my.
I know. Everyone's very shallow. They're like, I like the pretty one.
Yeah.
It's got ribbon.
Will you promise you'll come back? You're an absolute pleasure to have on, and I will promote any book that you want.
Well, I have another book next year, so I will be happy to come back. So I've just finished the second round of edits. It's called All Her Beautiful Deaths, and it's a deep dive into Victorian death photography.
Oh, are you kidding me? Oh, come on. Look, we're ending this interview so you can go back to writing.
If you like cemeteries, most of it's set just on the edge of Highgate Cemetery in London, which is an obsession for me. This is the third book I've set in Highgate Cemetery.
For my own sanity, when can I expect this book?
Probably September, October next year, I would guess.
That's not too bad. Okay, all right. I'll be counting the days, but that sounds fantastic.
It'll be great. I really love it. Actually, it's much kinder than Beauties. Everybody is wildly in love with everybody else and gets a happy ending, but it still has those gothic elements with the death photography.
I need a happy ending over here in the States.
I know, right? Yeah. I think it's time. I think Taylor Swift is going to make us all want a bit of romance next year. So
with you. Allison, until we speak again, take care of yourself. This was fantastic. Have a great
Thanks so much, Sean.
Anytime, and I mean that. Take care.